This conference will now be recorded.
Sorry. Okay, so the task for creating a bonus plan is create bonus plan. Okay, again, my bonus plans could be of type amount based, or give me a second. Okay, so my bonus plans could be of type amount based, they could be of type percentage based, right? Again, the concept is similar to how I create my merit plans. So just like my merit plans, I can create an amount based merit plan, I can create a percentage based merit plan, right? Okay, let me select amount, uh, 1/1/2010. Okay, now you see that a lot of aspects of this bonus plan is similar to my merit plan, right? So again, I'll define the compensation element, I'll define the plan name, I'll define the uh, compensation matrix, even though I don't see it here right now. I define the plan eligibility. So my eligibility rules, my waiting period, my process eligibility. So if I want to include active employees, who if I want to include active employees who were assigned this plan at any point in time during the process period, right? The second aspect is, do I want to assign active employees who are in the waiting periods, right? Okay, again, I define the time proration rules. I'll define the rounding rules, right? Whether I want to allow the targets to be overwritten. And when I do that, I have the ability to define the individual target, right? So if I go to an employee profile, let's say request compensation change, when I assign this plan to an employee, I'll have the ability to override the default target amount. So let's say if it is 1,000, I can go ahead and change the target amount, right? Again, do I need to hide target? When I select this, the target is hidden only from the employee. So your compensation administrators and your super users who have that comp access will still be able to see that target, right? So I'm only hiding it from an employee. Okay, again, now uh, with my merit plans, my frequency was always annual, right? So if I go ahead and open any merit plan, there I don't have the option of defining any other frequency. So your frequency is still available, but then it is always defaulted to annual without me having the ability to change it. Okay, but with respect to your bonus plans, you can define a frequency as monthly or annual or quarterly. Okay, now what is different in this bonus plan, right? Again, just like my merit plan, I can go ahead and define my bonus plan profiles. Okay, so define different targets in different currencies for different eligible employees. Okay, now what is important is the performance factor, right? Now if you see here, I'm saying I don't want to define, or I'm not considering any performance factor for paying out this bonus, right? So when I say performance factors, what are my performance factors? My performance factors are based on my compensation matrix, right? So that is where I can define whether a bonus would be paid out, or 1,000 rupees would be paid to exceeded expectations employee, meets expectation should get 500, and fails expectation should get probably 0, right? So when I select none of the above, everything is grayed out for me, right? Okay, the second option is if I select bonus plans with individual performance factors, right? Once I go ahead and select that, if you see, now I have the option of defining the compensation matrix, right? So again, the logic is exactly similar. I can define the compensation matrix. for my individual performance factors, right? Okay, there are no compensation matrix defined for your bonus plans or your amount based bonus plans, and that is why it doesn't show me any option. There are a few weighted matrices created. Again, the concept is exactly the same. If I go ahead and open them, so there's no difference in how I would create a matrix for my uh, for my bonus plan versus any other plan type, right? So the options in terms of me being able to select a performance rating, a compa ratio, uh, segments, they are all still the same. Okay, now at this point in time, if you see, these are still not available to me. So it says compensation matrix for individual performance factor and then compensation scorecard. Now what is this? Now when I select bonus plans with multiple factors, that is why if you see, I have these options to select those individual factors. So here, now this matrix section is grayed out. I still have the ability to define the compensation matrix because that is what I have selected. So I've selected bonus plans with multiple factors. So one of those factors I'm defining, right, or I am specifying for calculating the bonus value is my compensation matrix, right? But then this bonus plan target is defined in terms of multiple factors, which means apart from considering my compensation matrix, which basically defines my performance, my compa ratio, my segments, and all those factors, I can also define my bonus target in terms of something called scorecards, right? So your compensation matrix is one of the factors for defining your bonus plan target, right? Whether it is in terms of amounts or percentages. Okay, now if you see here, I have something called company funding scorecard here, and then I have something called compensation scorecards here. Now the question is, what is a scorecard? A scorecard basically allows me, right? It allows me to set up compensation, right? Considering company performance factors, right? So what I'm saying is, not just my performance, but also the performance of the company should be considered when giving a bonus amount to an employee, right? So, for example, I have exceeded my expectations, right? Based on which I should be getting, let's say, a 10% bonus. But then my company, which was supposed to attain a revenue of, let's say, 100 or $1 billion, it exceeded its revenue, and instead of $1 billion, it maybe achieved $1.1 billion, right? So my revenue attainment target, which was $1 billion, which was 100%, it exceeded by that target by 10%, right? So actual my company performance was 110%. Now based on this company performance, I want to give a 10% extra bonus to my employees, right? So your scorecards basically allow you to consider multiple factors when deciding the target bonus that your employees would be getting. Now, how that calculation happens, something we'll talk about later when we are actually designing our pools, right? For now, if you see, let's see if there are any scorecards available. So this is a company funding scorecard. Now if I go ahead and open it, let's look at the scorecard which is created. Okay, it says achieve 100% revenue attainment. So this is basically a goal, right? Okay, based on this goal, if I am able to achieve this goal, now this goal has the 100% weightage. Okay, now in order to understand this further, let's see if I have any other scorecard. So there's another scorecard which is company goal scorecard. Now, if I look at this scorecard is defined in terms of three different targets. The first one says increase employee engagement by 20%. So if you are able to increase your employee engagement by 20%, the weightage for this factor is 25%, which means let's say you are supposed to get 100 rupees of increase, right? Now in order to get this 100 rupees of increase, 25% of weightage is given to whether you were able to increase your employee engagement by 20% or not. So if you are able to increase your employee engagement by 20%, then out of 100 now you have your 25% available, right? The second factor was whether you are able to increase your customer satisfaction by 15%. So this is another goal. And if you are able to reach this target, then the weightage for this target is 35%, right? So let's say you are able to reach your employee engagement or increase it by 20% or maybe 30%. So you have increased or reached your goal by or by 150%, right? But still the weightage for that is 25% only. Again, how that calculations are considered, we'll talk about in a bit, right? So these are all the goals or factors or targets that have been assigned to you, and if you reach any one of these target, then the weightage of this target in getting your performance or bonus increase is 25%, 35%, and 40% to give you a combined weightage of 100%, which means if you are able to reach all three of these targets, then you get 100% of your bonus. Okay. Uh, Now, how do you identify whether you are able to reach a target? It is based on your scorecard results. Again, how we create those results, we'll talk about that in a bit. So if we see, based on all the results that have been uploaded, out of the overall 100%, for this period 930, your overall weighted score is you are able to reach 88.9% of the target. So let me open this result. Okay, so this has a weightage of 25% and you are able to achieve 87% of it, right? So you did not achieve the full employee engagement increase of 20%, you are only able to achieve 87% of the target, right? Here you were able to achieve 89% of the target. Here you were able to achieve 90% of the target, and it is basically only showing you the addition of all the achievements to show you that it is 266%, but then this doesn't make any sense. The actual scorecard results is that overall out of 100% you have reached 88.9%. So let me open a calculator and let's see how this calculation is being done. So the first target weightage was 25%, the second was 35%, and third was 40%. Okay, so 25, 35, 40. Okay, what is your achievement? 87, 89, 90. 87, 89, 90. Okay, now how does system calculate it? It is, uh, give me a quick second. Okay, give me a quick second. I'll have.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I was in this call. Okay.
Okay.
Now how do you calculate it? It is 0.25 into 0.87, and then I convert it into a percentage. If I show this in terms of percentage, which is 22%, right? Or let me format cells, percentage up to 2 decimals. Okay, again, this is okay, sorry. So this is 0.35, right? This is the weightage into how much, what was the target that I reached? It was 89% of my target into 0.89, right? And this is zero point 0.4 into zero point 0.9, which is 36%. So what happens if I add everything? It shows me 88.9%. If I add it, 88.9%. So overall, and that is what it this shows me. So overall, out of 100%, so if my 100% gives me $100, now I would only get $88.9, right? So the way it works is, and again we'll talk about this in more detail when we are actually talking about our uh, pools. But then what system would do is, so let's say, uh, okay, let's keep it simple. So let's say I have a amount based plan, right? And based on my compensation matrix, right? Uh, okay, so based on my compensation matrix, right? And it considered my performance, it considered my compa ratio, or any of those factors, right? It is giving me 1,000 rupees of bonus, right? Now system would take this 1,000 rupees of bonus, which was derived based on my compensation matrix, right? And then to it will then calculate the scorecard value. So based on the scorecard, I should be getting 88.9%. That is my overall scorecard results, right? Based on all these factors that have been defined to me. So now it takes this amount and it will multiply it with 88.889 or 0.89. So instead of getting 1,000 rupees, now I'll only be getting 890 rupees, right? So had I achieved, let's say, 110% of the target instead of 80%, then it will have given me 1.1. So now my overall target is still 94%. So even though I have reached 110% of my first target, right, which was to achieve some 25% revenue. So even if here I have achieved 110% of my results, because the overall weightage of this factor is only 25%, my overall factor is still 94.65, right? In the second one, let's say again I reached full 100%, right? Now this time it would be into 1. So now I've reached 98.65, right? So your scorecard defines, so it is basically an additional factor which is considered for giving out your bonus, right? Okay, now there are two scorecards that I have seen, or we have seen on a bonus plan. The first one says company funding scorecard, and the second one, if you see, it says compensation scorecards. Now if you look carefully, and if I click here, what are the options available in my company funding scorecard? it is company funding scorecard, and then company goals scorecard, and then financial and non-management, right? If I come down here and look here, again you see that the options are same, right? Which means the way I create a scorecard is exactly the same, whether it is a company funding scorecard or whether it is a compensation scorecard. These two are exactly the same scorecards, right? Then the question is, why is that I need to define them, or I have this option of defining them at two separate places? Okay, your company funding scorecard is basically your overall target, which is driven by your company, right? So let's say at your company level, which is IBM India Private Limited, the overall scorecard or factor is whether the company has achieved 100% profit or 100% revenue, right? So this is the overall metrics based on which every employee in this plan would be evaluated, right? Now your company's funding scorecard would be applied to every employee in the system, right? So a company funding scorecard is only that scorecard which you want to apply to the entire company or all the employees who are assigned that particular bonus plan. But then any other plan, for example, apart from your overall company goal, IBM Private Limited, you also have your, let's say, business unit specific goal. So within IBM India Private Limited, let's say I'm part of the consulting business unit, right? And consulting business unit has their own specific scorecard, right? Let's say customer satisfaction is one such factor which is specific to consulting, right? Specific to human resources, there could be a different factor, right? Specific to, let's say, financials or sales, their factor could be, have you achieved $100 million of revenue, right? So these are your division specific or business unit specific factors which are not applicable to the entire company. Now all those factors would be defined at your compensation scorecard. Okay, now the other way to look at it is, now just like my allowance plan, my bonus plans, or any other plans, let me close this. I can define profiles for my scorecards as well, right? So for example, I am creating a scorecard, and the task is create compensation scorecard, right? Okay, let me create it from 1st of Jan 2010. Okay. Okay, guys, give me a second. My laptop is not connected to a PowerPoint. Let me do that. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I'm creating the scorecard and I'm calling it Workday Batch. What is it? Workday Batch 6th Feb, right? 6th Feb. Let's call this scorecard. Okay, now my scorecard goal is, and I'm adding that goal, attain or complete 5 trainings in a month. Just an example. Uh, okay, complete 5 trainings in a month, and this is required for every trainer, right? So this is my overall scorecard weightage of 100%, right? Okay, let me close this, and you need to make sure that the overall weightage of all your factors adds up to 100%. So if let's say you're assigning two different factors, one of them is 40%, the other one has to be 60%. So overall sum of all your weightages should obviously be 60%. So you cannot say 40 and 40, which adds up to only 80, and you're not defining the other 20%. Okay, now this is very simple, right? If you see, this is all I have done. Now if you see, even this is a compensation scorecard. If I go to this plan and search for it, the scorecard is available, right? If I come here and search for it, again the scorecard is available, right? Okay, but because my company funding scorecard is basically available to all the employees, right? By the same factor, on a company funding scorecard, I cannot define my scorecard profiles, right? So if I come back to the scorecard and edit it, let me edit it from 1st of Jan 2010 and do okay. And this time, if you see, I can also define, so this is similar to my allowance plan profiles and my one-time payment plan profiles and so on and so forth. So I'm saying, if for, let's say, employee, so I'm just taking some hypothetical example, right? Anything. Then I'm saying, then the scorecard value. So ideally the way it should have been is 50. Ideally I should define at least 2 scorecard results, right? Because else it doesn't make any sense, right? uh, okay, so now all I have done is I have created a scorecard profile wherein I'm saying only for these employees the amount is 100%, right? Okay, now when I say okay, and if I go back and search for it, now if you see, the scorecard is no longer available, right? The reason this is happening is because now I have defined or scorecard profile on my scorecard, wherein I'm saying, or I'm defining the scorecard eligibility in terms of some eligibility rule. So when I've defined an eligibility rule, which means not all employees are eligible to it, right? I'm defining different profiles based on which the scorecard and its weightage becomes applicable, right? Because it is no longer available or applicable to the entire company. It no longer shows in this company funding scorecard, but then I'm still able to assign it as part of my compensation scorecard. So it is still visible here, right? So there's no difference between a company funding scorecard and your any other compensation scorecard. The only difference is your company funding scorecard is basically applicable to all the employees who are assigned that bonus plan. For your compensation scorecard, you can define scorecards in terms of eligibility criteria, right? So you can say for HR employees, the scorecard is HR ABC. For sales employees, they have a different scorecard, right? These are your division specific, business unit
Yeah.
specific. Again, for managers, it could be a different parameter saying retain employees. For employees, it could be a different parameter, right? So these are your business unit goals, right? And you define that in terms of your compensation scorecards. Questions? Okay, so the task is create compensation scorecards, right? For creating a scorecard, and then how do you define those results? If you see, once I have created a scorecard, uh, where is it? Compensation scorecards. I have this option to define the results as well. So this was the result which was showing up, right? I have achieved 88.9%. So this is basically my, so this is my scorecard wherein I'm saying employee should have achieved or should have completed 5 trainings in a month. But what was the result I actually attained, or what was the result that the company actually attained, right? Again, these are not individual factors, these are your company factors. So now when I create a scorecard result for WB, right, effective this quarter or this period, so as of, let's say, 12th of December 2019, which is the end of the financial year, my company actually achieved 90% of the target, right? So this is what was showing up when I was selecting that scorecard, right? So if I go back and select the scorecard, right? And these are the scorecard results. So for the period or for the evaluation date, September 30, 2010, the target which was achieved was 90%, right? And December 31st, 2010, the target which was achieved was 100%, right? So this is where you're creating a scorecard, and this is where you're actually creating the results for that scorecard for that period, right? So maybe last year I achieved 200% of my target, but then that would not be considered when I give my bonus for this year, right? My For this year, system would consider the evaluation date and see which evaluation date falls in the period for which I'm giving my merit increase or bonus increase, right? So even though there could be many results, system only considers that result which is for the current valid period. Okay, guys, make sense? Any questions? So I create compensation scorecards and then I create compensation scorecard results. Okay, the other difference between your company funding scorecard and any other scorecard is your company funding scorecard is basically non-discretionary, which means a manager or whoever is giving you that bonus, he doesn't have the option to overwrite your company funding scorecard value. So based on the scorecard results, system would automatically prorate or calculate your end results based on the company funding scorecard that has been given. So it is basically a non-discretionary element of the bonus plan, right? Non-discretionary in the sense a manager or a person who is performing that bonus review, he would not have an option to change it or edit it or modify it during the review process. Whereas when it comes to your compensation scorecard, uh, that is basically your discretionary spend. So even though based on your compensation scorecard metrics, you have reached only 90%, the person who is performing that review, he has the ability to override and enter 100% instead of 90%. So the second factor is your company funding scorecard is a non-discretionary amount, right? Or a non-discretionary calculation. Whereas your compensation scorecard, guys, I'm so sorry for the background. Whereas your compensation scorecard, I'll again not create it. Your company funding scorecard, it is non-discretionary. So based on the scorecard results that have been entered, system automatically calculates your ultimate earnings, right? Whereas this factor, your performance factors, a manager has the ability to change it, just like your merit plan, right? So system is proposing he should be getting 5%, but then manager says no, he may leave and I'm going to give him 6% or 10%. Okay. What else? Let me quickly check. Uh, okay. So the next factor is, so you have your company funding scorecard. What did we discuss? This scorecard does not have profiles, right? So you cannot define any profiles on your company funding scorecard. This is basically a non-discretionary funding, right? And the third aspect or unique feature of a company funding scorecard is you can define the company funding scorecard factors at any time. So the company funding scorecard factors, or when I say factor, the scorecard results can be defined at any time. So ideally, when I'm launching my bonus process, that is when the scorecard results should already be in the system, right? What happens if your scorecard results are not in the system just assumes that you have reached 100% of that scorecard value, right? So the default setting is, if I have two parameters, first is I have taken 5 trainings and second one is I have got uh, exceeded rating in all my trainings, and both of them has 50-50 weightage, by default system would assume, and I have not entered any scorecard results, the default setting is system assumes I have reached 100% for my trainings and 100% for my exceeded expectations. So it will basically multiply everything. So by default, as I mentioned, if nothing is entered, everything is 100%, and system multiplies everything with 1. So now I have 25% here. This also it multiplies with 1, and this also it multiplies 1. So by default I'll get 100%. So if it is 1000, it will multiply it with 1, right? So the in this case, basically your scorecard is as good as nothing, right? System would not consider it because you have not defined any scorecard results. Okay, but with company funding scorecard, you have the ability to enter scorecard results at any point in the process, right? For other scorecards, if you have not defined your scorecard results before your process initiates, then system by default assumes that it is 100%. And then if you later go ahead and enter your scorecard results, system would not recalculate any of the pools or any of the uh, uh, targets based on your compensation scorecards, right? Only for your company funding scorecard, you can enter your scorecard results at any time, before the process initiated, during the process when it is still running, or even after the process is finalized. So at any point in time, you can update your scorecard results, right? Okay, so you can apply company performance results to, the first time is the initial bonus funding, right? So this is when, before your merit process or your bonus process is initiated, your scorecard results are automatically populated, right? And when those scorecard results are automatically populated, obviously your merit process or bonus process, once it is initiated, it will consider those factors for generating its pool, and for uh, also proposing a target based on those targets, right? So you can apply performance results to the initial bonus funding pool, right? When you set up the compensation review process, right? So you can do that at the start, and then system, when it generates your budget or pool, system automatically factors in this performance factor, right? Or the second option is the updated bonus pool, right? And spend for an in progress compensation. So even when your compensation review is in progress, right? Initially, you did not specify any compensation scorecard results, but even when your compensation process is already launched and your pools are already generated, even in that case, you can go ahead and update your, either create or define your scorecard results, or you may also change it, right? How can you change them when the process is already in progress? Using edit compensation scorecard results, right? So you can still edit your compensation scorecard results or create new scorecard results if they are not even created when the process is still in progress. And once you have updated your scorecard results or created your scorecard results, then you can use the task recalculate pool and awards. And when you run this task, system would basically recalculate the budget and recalculate the awards based on the scorecard results. Okay, the final option is approved bonuses, which means I am a manager and I have already proposed the bonus for all my employees and I have submitted it, right? Even after the bonus is submitted and approved, even at the end, I can still update my compensation scorecard results. So your approved bonuses at the end of the compensation review process. And how do you do that? For that, in your compensation review business process, you'll have to add a task which is called manage bonus process funding, right? So this is similar to any other business process, right? For example, in hire, you have multiple sub steps or sub processes. Similarly, in your compensation review process, at the end, you'll have to include a, excuse, excuse me. At the end, you'll have to include a task, a sub process, which is called manage bonus process funding. And if this task is included, and if there is any change in the scorecard results after your process is already completed or approved, when it reaches this sub process at the end, that's when system would automatically re-evaluate all the results and automatically prorate them based on the scorecard results, right? So you'll have to include BP step to the initiate compensation review BP. So your original BP by which you'll trigger the entire compensation process is initiate compensation review. In that, the last step you'll have to include manage bonus funding scorecard. Now what happens if this step is reached and there are no changes in your compensation uh, scorecard result? Then that is fine, right? If there are no results, obviously this step will not change anything. But then if there are changes in the results, then this step would automatically reevaluate all the targets. Okay, but then this is only for your company funding scorecards. Any scorecard which you have added as your compensation scorecard under your performance factors in here, they all needs to be updated in the system before your compensation review starts. So if they are not updated or the scorecard results are not updated when you initiate your compensation review, then system would not consider even if you enter them later or make changes later. Okay, any questions? I'm just checking what all options are there. So compensation matrix is done. Uh, okay, I think we have covered everything. There's just one aspect of a bonus plan, the eligible earnings override. I'll talk about that later when we are talking about the compensation process. Okay, so the next plan type I'll talk about is a stock plan. It's a very simple plan. Questions?
No, no.
Okay, all right. Excuse. So you guys have 10-15 minutes, right?
Uh, Actually, we have a call at 12, so maybe we
Oh,
can resume
okay.
tomorrow.
All right, sure. So let's start sharp 11 o'clock tomorrow. Okay.
Tomorrow, okay. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So 4 minutes any which ways will not be able to complete the stock plan, even though it's a very, very simple plan. Workday as such, if you see with respect to all the other plan types, your stock plans, and we have also spoken about that in the context of commission plans, right? And we have said Workday is not a commissioning tool. So it only allows you to hold specific information. Similar to that, stock with respect to stock plans as well, Workday only allows you to basically configure the stock plans and then identify to whom what stock plans have been assigned. But then whether employee has vested those stocks or sold those stocks or bought those stocks, again, I'm no expert in stock, but then that is all needs to be handled outside Workday system. So in Workday system, all you're doing is you're creating your stock plans, and then you're only using your Workday to define which stock plan is available or assigned to which employee, and that is all. So it is just a stock tracking tool. That is it. So it has very, very limited functionality, very simple configuration. Okay, everything else, most of the clients I have seen with, they'll have some specific third party system wherein they manage all those aspects, and they only use Workday to sync uh, stock plans on the employee profile, right? uh, as every other
Ali,
plan type.
yeah, Ali,
Yeah.
just one thing. I think we will be implementing the basic compensation. Business will not go with the advanced compensation. I mean, this merit plan and
Mhm.
all this. Just one thing I want to check with you. We have to do the requirement gathering. So,
Mhm.
do you have that standard template which is delivered by basically Workday to do the requirement gathering? I mean, to get the requirement from the HR. I mean,
Right.
we can share that
I
template.
have an old one. I have an old workbook, configuration workbook, but let's see if I
Yeah.
have the latest versions available from community. Sure, no problem.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and share this across with you people.
So that would be the
Okay.
right approach, right? Sharing that
Yeah,
configuration workbook with the HR and
exactly.
ask them to fill the details in case
Right.
they face any challenge. Then we can do discussion with them
Right.
in
Or
filling
you
that
you
template.
just ask them for all the existing plan types, the way they gave you that simple deck, right? I'll share you one other document. Let's see if I can pull it from my office laptop,
Hmm.
but I'll share as to how I get my requirements. So I recently we did compensation setup for Korea, and it
Okay.
is a very detailed document. I think that India plan wouldn't be that complex, but then
Hmm.
I can share that across as well if I can pull it from my office laptop. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, please.
sure.
That will be really helpful. Yeah, thanks.
All right, no problem, guys. Thank you so much for joining. We'll speak again tomorrow. Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye. Bye.